You're listening to Supervision with a Vision, where we discuss all things supervision. I'm your host, Sarah, professional counselor, marriage and family therapist, play therapist, eating disorder specialist, and cookie lover, with my co-host, Heather, marriage and family therapist, certified Together in Texas counselor, a Texas transplant from California, and outdoor adventurer. Hi, welcome to Supervision with a Vision. Today, Heather and I are talking about problems with using reference checks. This week we read Traditional Reference Checks Are Plagued with Problems, published in Psychology Today 2023. Heather, how often do you ever use reference checks, either in your practice or with supervisees?
I don't anymore.
Yeah.
I've kind of gotten away from them.
Yeah.
And I don't really know when that transition happened. But I don't anymore.
How do you... Okay, so maybe not the traditional form of reference checks, but when you have a new supervisee, how do you know who they are, where they're coming from, what their experience is? So are you checking in maybe just a different way?
Yeah, I'm checking in a different way. Probably a more like non-obvious way. Mm-hmm. I mean, some of it might be, they work for wherever, and so I'm looking up that clinic where they work. Or they go to, wherever place. I want to look those things up.
I didn't think you were, but I really wanted to say that you were internet stalking them.
Not quite that. Not quite that far. Although, you know what? I have been told by an attorney friend who actually listens to this podcast that I should be Googling every client before they come in my office.
Really?
Yes.
Clients, not supervisees.
Right.
Interesting.
Clients. I mean, she'd probably say the same about supervisees.
Right.
But from her point of view, it's not only a safety situation, but also that I should walk in knowing something. And I've bantered with her about this a lot.
Yes,
no, actually, I want to only know what they present. I mean, that's the whole thing. But
I think you could apply the same idea to supervisees.
Absolutely.
And or if you're a counselor in a position where you're hiring people.
Right.
Okay, so maybe we're not using traditional reference checks, but in some way we are getting some background.
Right.
I think even getting a resume.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean,
or what else could you do in a counselor role with supervisees or potentially a new employee? Maybe request in Texas. There's a system where you can request someone's public records related to their license.
Right.
Having been hurt more than once, I think I would do that in the future.
Yeah. I can see that would be important.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll just have to be reminded by you to do that.
Yeah. And I'm thinking what that means in Texas is that you can request records related to their license. So if they have had a complaint made against them, or if they've had any...
like fraud, like if there's been any fraud cases, many-wide.
I can't think of the word right now. If there were correctional action taken against them. There's the language is different, but if the state required them to do something in response to them having broken a rule related to their license or a complaint being made, that's on the record. So if you request these records, you get, because I have done it, you get a big envelope with all of their information from their first application.
Oh, wow. Okay. They're like, here you go. This is what you can do.
Hard copy. You get a copy of their degree, their diploma. Mm-hmm. You get a copy of their original application for license. Okay. And then you get anything that would have been filed after that.
Okay, so I kind of like it. I mean, I think if I was in a position of hiring someone to work at my practice, I like it.
Mm-hmm. What else could you do? You could internet stalk them.
Yeah. I more internet stalk what they're associated with.
Okay.
Like that's kind of a softer.
Yeah. You could I don't know if we would call this internet stalking them, but maybe you realize through some way, some avenue that 2 or 3 people in common with them.
Right.
And you might reach out to those. Right. That's what you're saying you might do. That if you knew maybe you're talking about bringing someone new into the practice and they name drop and say, oh, I know Sarah.
Right. Well, I'm going to ask you.
Then you're going to ask me, right,
Right.
to know what do I think of this person or when was the last time you talked to something
Right.
like that.
Oh, they knew Sarah from Florida in,
Right. Something like that.
Right.
So maybe a different form of reference checks. But our article is talking about a traditional reference check. So do you think that means like when you give a resume at the bottom, you might list 3 people and their phone numbers and
that's how I'm seeing that.
Okay.
Or if they fill out an application, same thing.
Right.
They have chosen who to tell you.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So some issues with using traditional reference checks. Number 1, gender bias. And I never thought of this until reading the article.
Right.
So how do you think gender bias might affect a traditional reference check?
I think it's the words that we naturally tend to use when we describe people, female or male.
Okay.
So a female could be seen, actually, maybe we can start the other way and you can help me. A male could be seen as task-oriented and, focused.
Well, yeah, I think I agree that the kinds of words we use to describe men are the types of words we'd use to describe a person who's successful in a business situation.
Right. It's very business driven.
Right.
Very.
So a traditional reference check would say something like, this person is an ideal worker because, and then it would list things that are more
businessy,
male bias.
Right.
They are successful, hardworking, assertive, that, things that, and that does not, highlight
the
talents or skills.
It really doesn't translate.
Right. And so maybe not even, let's be even more, let's say, fluid than just gender. But those words don't highlight the talents of all people. Right. And even all jobs. Does every job require someone who knows how to be task-oriented, goal-driven, assertive?
I mean, I kind of don't want that person to work with me.
Right. I mean, but you don't even need that those attributes to do all jobs well. But that's what what if we did it the other way around? What if you wrote a reference letter and they were the opposite of task-oriented, goal-driven, and assertive? You would say this person is a circular thinker that moves at their own pace.
Right. It's a soft way.
And you would think, what would
complete tasks in a creative way?
Right. And I don't know that gets you a job.
No, I don't. It does not. That is no.
But those are certainly things that would be fun.
Right.
To have as in a coworker that they're come to creative solutions in their own time.
Right. I would like to think that as society, we're going a little bit away from some of that. Like now that it's been brought up and an awareness has happened, let's hope that the shift can happen. But like with all things, that will take probably a decade, right? It's going to take a long time.
Okay. So a traditional reference check is just not going to highlight all of the attributes or skills or talents of all people.
Right. It's definitely
Traditionally, it just doesn't lean that way.
Right.
Okay. The next, we coined this a little bit, that a traditional reference check really uses the golden rule.
Absolutely. I mean,
and as a result, you might not get a real full picture of the person. Right. So the golden rule is what?
To treat others the way you want to be treated.
And so what do you think that means would happen in a reference check? If everybody's using the golden rule, no one's saying anything negative.
Right. And you're choosing. Remember this too. This bias is like the person that's interviewing is choosing who they're going to use. Have you ever called on one and someone didn't know they were a reference?
Yes. And vice versa. Okay. I feel like I've gotten a lot of phone calls where someone's given my name as a reference and I think, I do know that person, and I would say some nice things, but I wish I'd been given a warning.
Right, a heads up.
So it could happen that the person whose name has been given didn't know that their name had been given. What about let's say the last person I was asked to give a reference for, I get the phone call, and I do have nice things to say, but I'm probably not also including that one time they ate my sandwich in the refrigerator at work.
Right.
and she always taps her pen on the desk, and it drives me nuts. I'm just not going to include those parts.
Right. Chronically 5 minutes late to every.
Oh, yeah. You maybe just don't include those parts, and you emphasize the parts that you are helpful to that person, or that you'd hope they would do for you.
I think that that's what you're looking for. When you're looking for people that are going to be your references, you're like, who will say the best thing about me? Right. And so that really gets to like, okay, well, I mean, someone said something nice about me one time, so I'm going to say, I'm going to give that person a little lift up.
Right. I think, this was a long time ago, but it was a reference that I asked for that was helpful. I mean, it helped me for many reasons. It was an important reference to get. She turned right around and asked me for the same reference.
Oh,
like with it, like, so for the same reason.
Role. Okay.
And not that we were competing for the same job, but it was for the same purpose. So, I asked her for a reference, and then a couple weeks later, she needed a reference, and she asked me. And so it absolutely was
right. In reverse,
treat others the way that you want to be treated. So we both gave a nice, positive reference, and we would have, but I think we probably all did leave out
some of the other stuff.
When we met, she drove me nuts,
right?
And then we got past that, and now we work really well together.
Right.
That we just left out those parts. So is it lying?
I don't think it's lying. I think it's just you're reflecting the parts of why you would refer this person to that agency, right? But it's also, I don't remember exactly what the law is, but now there's so many stipulations about what you can even ask during a reference check that it's like, really, what information are you getting?
Well, and I don't know if I think this is actually a Texas state requirement. It's not, it's just federal, and it's definitely not international. But in the state of Texas, you are only allowed to ask if the person is rehirable.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay.
And what dates they worked.
Right.
So you can confirm when were they employed here, and are they rehirable? And there's, you can read between the lines about whether they're rehirable or not. And those are the questions you're allowed to ask. But whatever the response is not limited. So if the person
can say anything,
right. So if I said, "Are they rehirable?" and that you were on the other end of the phone and you said no, and let me tell you why.
Right. You can't do anything about that information.
I would just sure I'd listen. So it is limited to some degree. But a reference check for other reasons could be different. So if we're talking about just supervision, if you get a reference and you call and talk to this person, and it's not about hiring, so you could ask them, what was it like to work with them?
Right. How did they?
You could ask more in-depth questions.
Yeah, you could really.
How do they work as a team member? Right. Yeah. So we're again not getting the full picture of what it might be like to interact with this person based on when you're asking for a reference, you're giving the kind of reference that you'd hope somebody else would give for you. Okay. Our last point is that even with these other two issues related to traditional reference checks, on top of that, what if the experience that you're getting from this person does not even directly apply to the potential new experience? Right. So, what can you think of an example of what we're talking about?
I actually do have one. I had a, I guess, colleague is what I would say, who asked for a reference check, and it was for a job that wasn't in our field. So it was like, oh, I mean, yes, I knew you for this amount of time, but it was a completely different field. And I don't even mean like tangent, like not from mental health, maybe to something like education or like in a district job or something.
But
I mean,
very
like,
different.
Very different. And I was like, okay. I mean, I don't know what it says about that, but he does great on presentations. Like what else do you say?
Right. Well, and I think all people would go through that transition.
Right.
That, if I thought about a job I had in college, I worked at an office supply place for a little bit.
Right.
And they liked me.
Right.
So if I gave that as a reference,
they'd say nice things about you.
Right. But if I were now applying for a counselor position, I don't know if that translates at all. The skills or the expectations.
Other than that you're a nice person and that you came to work on time.
Right.
I mean, what?
Right.
You're not gathering in-depth information about these things matter.
What about supervision specifically? If you're getting a reference check for supervision, what if if any, do those skills apply from something they might have done previously to a supervision relationship?
Maybe I did have one supervisee I worked with for about a year and a half, maybe, but she wanted to transition into play therapy, and I'm not a play therapy supervisor, so I strongly encouraged her to like
Go find
halt and
someone.
go find someone that works. And so when I gave that, I think that in the same field, right?
Yeah,
It's the same
yeah.
bracket, but I don't know on the receiving end how that mattered to that play therapist supervisor. I don't
Yeah.
know what weight she thought in that.
I think if you're going to try and do this, or if this is, maybe you're in a system where this is just something they do, traditional reference checks.
Right.
I think to get this to be applicable, you've got to think outside the box and
Yes.
ask the right questions.
Right.
So if I am going from my office supply job to my first counselor position or something like that, that maybe if that person doing that reference check was thinking showing up on time, wearing what you're supposed to wear, and being reasonably good at customer service applies to counseling.
Sure. You can stretch
right,
that.
Right. Or if they, because it's maybe a supervision reference check and not a job reference check. So we can ask different questions. Maybe they ask, can you tell me what you think some of her strengths were?
Right.
And maybe they say customer service, organization, and counting pens.
Right.
Or something.
Right. Some of that matters.
That they go, okay, customer service.
Right.
Good. Being organized. That's a skill that counselors use sometimes. Counting pens, not so much, but that you have to be a little creative.
Right.
To make that one work.
Right. And I think depending on the position, that's all that matters, right? Like if we're talking just supervision, they're just gaining information about the type of person you are and how you work. But if you're doing it for an employment situation, how flexible is the person hiring going to look at those skills?
So if you're the applicant, that might not always work in your favor because the interviewer might not think that way. But in some situations, you and I as supervisors might be the interviewer, and so we could do that. But you've really got to read between the lines.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, does this change how you think about using reference checks?
I don't know that I'm anti-reference check. And I've learned from colleagues that there's some situations that can kind of burn you a little bit. So it's probably worthy to know who they know. But I think it's important to also not pass too much, not put too much weight in it. Like I kind of stopped using them and I don't know why.
Oh. I like that. So this is, if at some point maybe the idea was this was a large part of a job application, or it got a lot of weight within that decision, that you're saying we may not just in how we apply the information we get, but we might have to be creative in the way that we do a reference check,
right?
Like looking at other sources of information. And that we also need to remember that it doesn't give us the whole picture.
That's right.
It's just one little piece.
Right.
I do think gathering more information is a valuable tool in making a decision like this.
Right.
That, you and I there are many situations where not every supervisee and supervisor are the perfect fit.
Right.
For many different situations. So gathering more information could be really useful.
Right.
Okay. Well, thanks today for listening to Supervision with a Vision.